and welcome to our podcast series, A Spotlight on Construction. My name is Faye Mind and I will be your podcast host, and in this episode, which is themed around mental health, we will be joined by Jasmine Evans, Commercial Agreement Manager for Construction at CCS, who will be interviewed today by Noel Shearer, Head of Construction at CCS. Jasmine will be chatting to us about why mental health in construction is so important, what help is out there for construction workers, how you can make mental health a priority in your organisation, and also a little bit about your own experiences. So, Noel, over to you with the first question.
Thanks, Faye. So I guess the starting point for me, Jasmine, is to understand exactly why the consideration of mental health in construction is so important.
Well, there are several factors really why particular attention should be paid to those in the construction industry. The industry itself can be very lonely for the workers. They might have to travel far from home and their families to certain projects and have to work in isolation. They also often have to work to very tight project timescales, which tend to have financial penalties fixed to them if they are not met, which can be very stressful. And job security can also be a challenge. This is on top of just the type of work itself being predominantly physical and during a range of seasons, very risky with health and safety. It's known to be a particularly male dominant with this macho stigma attached to it. And unfortunately, this leads to some being reluctant to admit any anxiety or stress they might be facing and not ask for help. The construction industry is known to be so focused on the health and safety and physical health of their employees, which is obviously extremely important, but therefore often mental health can be quite overlooked. And according to a new report from the Chartered Institute of Building, just a few facts, 26% of the construction industry professionals thought about taking their own lives in 2019, and over 30% of all construction sites have no hot water, no toiletry facilities, and all these things can have an impact on mental health and well-being. Also, in a survey of over 2,000 construction industry professionals, stress was the most common mental health factor felt over the past year at 97%. And many experience mental health problems due to late payments of invoices affecting payment of their supply chain. And also 56% of construction professionals work for organisations with no policies on mental health in the workplace. Just some quite staggering stats there, really.
Absolutely staggering statistics. So it's clearly a huge issue. What help is out there for construction workers?
Well, something that I think is very important starts with management, and making yourself clearly available to your employees so that they feel that they have a safe space where they can share how they're feeling, and ensure that management has an awareness of the various avenues that employees can have to access help. There are also some amazing charities out there, such as the Lighthouse charity and Mates in Mind. They both have been set up to have a clear focus on construction, raising awareness and addressing the stigma of poor mental health. And there is also the Samaritans, which is a registered charity and provided emotional support to anyone in emotional distress, struggling to cope, or at risk of suicide.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's been really encouraging to see the trade bodies and institutions becoming far more visible in supporting the mental health agenda in the last couple of years as well.
Definitely.
How can our audience get involved with ensuring mental health in construction is prioritised?
Well, for our suppliers, it is really beneficial to have plenty of mental health first aiders trained in proportion to your workforce, and to have an appropriate platform internally that employees can gain access to support, such as an employee assistance programme. Employers are also now signing up to building mental health charters to demonstrate their commitment to promoting awareness and understanding of mental health, as well as lowering stigma and training up mental health first aiders to support their employees. And as mentioned previously, physical well-being and mental well-being, they go hand in hand, and they are both just as important as each other. So possibly covering off mental health awareness within any regular health and safety shares that you might have on site would be really helpful. When it comes to our clients, assessing social value is vital to be measured within construction procurement projects. Creating social value has clear connections with efforts to reduce health inequalities, for example, by improving employment opportunities and housing for those who are vulnerable. It creates a new opportunity and potential to use local and national commissioning to support improvements in the health and well-being of local people, and in the longer term, reduce the demand on health services and other services. So there's a number of things that you can include in your procurements, asking suppliers for things like contractors to sign up to the Building Mental Health Charter, and making sure that they've got the recommended minimum of health and safety advisors and mental health first aiders, making sure that contractors management have undertaken all form of mental health awareness training and things like that.
Brilliant. Well, you're clearly very passionate about this subject. I wondered whether you'd be okay with exploring why you have such a personal connection to this topic.
I've always had an interest in mental health and well-being, but I personally went through a period where I had poor mental health, and the issue was not recognising it early enough and not being aware of what it's all about. It's taken quite a lot of time, quite a long time, to get in the mindset that everyone has mental health, just like everyone has physical health, and both really need to be looked after. I joined our CCS Mental Health First Aider Guardian representation team, which is basically a steering group for the wider Mental Health First Aid Guardian team, with the aim to drive and organise initiatives and support our colleagues. And then I moved into the construction team last year, and hearing the facts that I've mentioned earlier really had an impact on me. I noticed a definite link between my personal experience, as many of the causes of mental health in construction are due to that lack of communication, lack of awareness, and more focus on physical health over mental health. And there is so much help out there today as mental health becomes even more normalised. There are lots of techniques that you learn when you do your mental health first aid training, such as the stress bucket, which should be made available to as many people as possible. Also, as a procurement lead, I feel that I'm able to really make a difference as a commercial point of view, adding value to my clients' procurement projects where possible, maintaining the focus on the people and their well-being involved in the projects through social value.
Thanks for that, Jasmine. You've referred a couple of times to MHFA, or mental health first aiders. Could you just talk a little bit about exactly what that is?
Yes, of course. So it's a 3-day training course which teaches people to identify, understand and help someone who might be experiencing a mental health issue. And being a mental health first aider, the actual training doesn't teach you to be a therapist. It doesn't encourage it either, but it'll give you tips to help teach you to listen, reassure and respond even in a crisis. And that could even potentially stop a crisis from actually happening. You'll learn to recognise warning signs of mental health and develop skills and confidence to approach and support someone while keeping yourself safe.
Thanks. Really, really useful. And something you referred to a minute ago, a technique called the stress bucket, which sounded really interesting. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Yes, so it's basically an analogy. So if you imagine you have a bucket inside your body which collects all of your stress of events, day-to-day things such as work, home life, illness or finances, and you sort of add those stresses to the bucket. Sometimes that bucket might feel relatively empty, and other times it might feel quite full. And we all have stress buckets of all different sizes. And so it can vary really how much stress we can individually manage. Equally, an event that we might find quite stressful, someone else might feel only slightly stressful or not even stressful at all. And if we notice ourselves feeling like this, like our bucket is maybe overflowing, it can be important to try and let some of that stress out. And we can only do this really by engaging with some positive coping strategies, things like sort of engaging with family members, maybe going for a walk, doing exercise, things like that. And that can help let some of that stress out. And I use that analogy quite often when supporting my friends, family and colleagues.
A great analogy. I'm sure we can all identify with having had almost all fully overflowing buckets, definitely.
Brilliant, thank you both, and thank you so much for helping us to understand the importance of mental health in the construction industry and how you're playing your part as a CCS employer to support this. It really is inspirational, so thank you once again. And hopefully for anyone who's listening to this podcast, you will have helped them to understand why it's so important to talk about the effects of mental health in the construction industry and where they can seek help if they are experiencing any of the issues that we have discussed. So, Jasmine, have you got any final words before we finish today's podcast?
Just that if anyone has any questions or would like to get in touch with me, if you've got any concerns about mental health specifically, or if you need any support in incorporating it into your procurement, then please feel free to email me at jasmine.evans@crowncommercial.gov.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jasmine. And Noel, have you got anything to add too?
Yeah, really. I mean, construction can be a very conservative, slowly changing industry. We're constantly working within an environment of challenging deadlines and margins. And we all go through periods of poor mental health at some point. I can think of 2 periods in my career where I've been beyond a tipping point of good mental health, and that affected both me and the people around me. So I've worked in the industry for almost 40 years now, and it's only in the past couple of years that we've come to realise the importance of mental health to every single person in the industry. And it's only in recent years that we've all started to feel comfortable talking about it and admitting that we're not superhuman. So I think for me, the takeaway I'd like us to be able to look back in 10 years' time and see a similar shift in the approach to mental health as we saw in the approach to physical safety after we introduced the CDM regs back in 1994. But everybody in the industry needs to play their own part in that. So it's been really super helpful to have Jasmine's input and knowledge to this. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you so much to both of you for putting this on everybody's radar and making it such an important topic that we should be considering, especially in procurement as well. So that wraps up our Spotlight on Construction podcast on mental health. If you would like to discover how we could help you to develop new and innovative solutions for your construction projects, please visit our website www.crowncommercial.gov.uk/construction. Together, we can help you build a stronger future and bring power to your procurement.